Hey, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be reviewing a man who is married to the Outworld but is secretly lusting after Earthrealm at night. He's also Bugs Bunny's mallet-smashing tag team partner, and he's the man who will happily tell you that you suck and that you will never win, which still hurts me to this day. He's Mortal Kombat's resident bad boy Shao Kahn, brought to you by the fine people at McFarlane Toys, and he's based on his appearance in Mortal Kombat 11. Okay, full disclosure. McFarlane's Mortal Kombat line has been very hit or miss to me, with far more misses than hits. I think their Raiden release was the most impressive, but the rest of their line has ranged from okay to downright awful. So when the promotional shots were released on this bad boy, I kind of had a little bit of deja vu set in. I thought that the figure wouldn't live up to the doctored images. However, looking at this guy in the box, I might get to happily say I was wrong. The packaging features the golden, yellow, and black Mortal Kombat 11 theme. It's got a clear front display revealing Shao Kahn and his accessories, or lack thereof. On the side, we have the MK logo along with an image of Kahn, and on the other side, we have logos for McFarlane Toys and Mortal Kombat 11, and at the very bottom, an image of Shao Kahn's weapon of choice, the Deathbringer. Moving to the back, once again we have images of Shao Kahn, the MK11 logo, and a faint image of the Mortal Kombat Dragon logo. Overall, the MK11 color scheme makes for an eye-catching aesthetic, and what few elements the box displays on the surface, it brings them together well enough to make a solid wall display, should you choose to leave this figure in the package. But of course, we're not going to do that, so let's get Sindel's Loverboy out of the box and take a closer look. The promotional material says that Shao Kahn stands at roughly 7 inches tall, but in reality, he's around 8 inches from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. If you go further and add in the very tip of his war helmet, he's just under 9 inches tall, and he makes for a really good first impression. I'm not really sure if I need to go into a lot of detail because I think most of us can agree he looks good. Because of my old school bias, I am partial to his original look from Mortal Kombat 2. However, I can appreciate the visual evolution of the character, leading up to Mortal Kombat 11. He's gone from more of a human in a glorified Halloween costume to something that resembles more of a monster with rough, scaly skin and demonic eyes. For a price point that's somewhere between $20 and $25, I think McFarlane has done an unbelievable job with this figure, and it really shows off the results of that visual evolution. His skin has a simplistic yet clean paint job. There's a sharp two-tone tan color combination to differentiate the lighter and darker elements. It's not unlike how NECA shades their Ninja Turtle toon line, which I think is appropriate there, but here, I would have liked a little bit more contrast to show off his muscular frame throughout his skin. It's not a big deal for the most part, because the sculpt more than makes up for that. As you get closer to the back, it has patches of bumpy texture and spiky skin protrusions to give off the scaly dragon monster-like appearance that Shao Kahn's character has become known for, and I really appreciate that attention to detail. And the star of the show is definitely the highly detailed armor and clothing, which is accentuated by the gold plating and trim on his war helmet, spiked shoulder pads, and knee pads among other areas. Where the red and maroon paint meets the gold, it's very clean, and the details sculpted into his armor really make this figure stand out. The majority of his clothing is loose and or sculpted to fit snug around his frame. To some degree, this affects the articulation, which we'll get into right now. Starting with his head, he can look up a bit, but his helmet blocks his ability to look all the way up. However, he has good range looking down, and despite his shoulder pads being nearby, Shao Kahn can do his best Exorcist impression by spinning his head all the way around. Both of his arms can do a full rotation, even on the side with the most padding. There's a little bit of give that allows for the arm to go through. His left arm can extend horizontally around 90 degrees, but his right arm is limited by the shoulder armor. His elbow has good range as it can bend beyond 90 degrees. However, it leaves an ugly gap in his joint depending on the angle. This is also an issue on his left wrist as there's no armor to hide the rough transition between the ball joint and the hand. There's a seam in his abdomen that allows for a small ab crunch going forward and a little bit of a bend going back. If you have a nice beat going on in the background, Shao Kahn's upper body is flexible enough that he can groove to it. Moving to his waist and legs, his clothing is fairly stiff on the sides, and it's a bit looser on the front and back. So we'll start by showing that he probably won't be doing full splits anytime soon. His legs can extend forward, and while you might be able to get a little bit more range out of him, this is kind of where I said to myself I don't want to stress the figure beyond this point. His knee can bend back to a fair degree, which is more than acceptable. He's not a gymnast, and I doubt many people are going to be using him for the most dynamic of poses. A small gripe that I have as we move on to his lower legs, you can see the rough transition as the ball joint acts as his ankle between the leg gauntlets and his spiked footwear. This is also a good time to reiterate my issue that while the sculpt does a great job of covering up for a lack of paint detail, the figure could still use a few more rounds of paint to separate areas like his feet, which blend in completely with his footwear. For a figure that looks so good, glaring issues like this bring it down a little bit. It's almost like a tale of two figures, with more of the budget going into his armor and clothing as opposed to his body. Apparently, the budget also didn't allow for much in the way of accessories, as it doesn't come with any alternate hands. It does come with a small stand, which you may need, as I did have trouble keeping him upright at times. And of course, he comes with his trusty warhammer, the Deathbringer. Much like his armor, it's very well done. The paint job on the MK Dragon symbol is clean, and the metal head is brought into focus with unique textures on each face of the hammer. My hammer did have some slight warping as I removed it from the package. Your results may vary, but just be careful as the handle is not a very hard plastic. Unfortunately, I don't have any other McFarlane figures to compare this to, but that's okay. I want to see how he scales next to my Storm Collectibles MK figures. So let's go ahead and pull out Baraka, Goro, Scorpion, and Raiden. As far as the look, it's not a perfect fit, but I think he still looks pretty good next to them. Overall, there's a few issues with the lack of paint, details, and accessories, but even I can sit back and realize that I'm staring at a damn good looking figure. And it's one that I will proudly display with my other Mortal Kombat figures on the shelf. I'm going to give Shao Kahn an 8 out of 10. Thanks a lot, guys, for sticking around to the end of the review. Hopefully, McFarlane can carry this strong momentum into future releases. I know that among others, Liu Kang, Noob Saibot, and a litany of slightly altered but reused sculpts will be coming very soon. There are a lot of interesting choices from MK11 that are dripping with character and color and detail, so I'm hopeful that we'll get something that can stand toe-to-toe with this excellent Shao Kahn release. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks a lot.